Welcome to Media Dialogues. There were some big shifts in the way we consumed media in the COVID years. Digital media, streaming and e-commerce were the big beneficiaries of life under lockdown. So much so that at the start of the year, we saw headlines about how digital would get almost half of the total ad spend this year. So has that trend borne out? What was the year like for media agencies that make decisions about how some 80, 90,000, maybe even 100,000 crore rupees worth of ad money are spent? What's the next year looking like for the business as the news of a slowing global and Indian economy flow in? Now, I have a lot of questions, and to answer them, I'm very pleased to welcome here Divya Karani of Dentsu and Mohit Joshi of Havas Media. Did I get that right, Mohit? French words are difficult.
Absolutely.
Good. Lovely to see both of you here. And the fact that we are face to face in the same physical space means that 2022 is back to normal. It's the first normal year post the pandemic. What is normal, Divya?
Normal in media, there's very little normalness, if that's a term. Think about it. We live our lives in media today.
Yeah.
Right? Media today shapes our thinking, our worldview, the way we consume news, form opinions, the way we get entertained. And it's not just a entertainment that media provides, it's also a social platform.
Yeah.
Right? And a playground at that.
That's true.
So if you think about it, media today is the most important change pivot, right? We eat, sleep, drink our lives in media. We even romance in media.
That's true. Is 2022 back to normal if you look at the two aberration years of COVID?
So again, my question.
What is normal?
What is normal?
Mohit, come rescue us. What is normal?
I think normal today is absolute change. You know, there's nothing that you can plan.
Take for granted.
Nothing you can take for granted. What used to be a planned way of operating has changed completely. And normal for me is a change that's happening practically every day. In my view, not just media, but the marketing itself has changed. And I personally feel that the 4 P's of marketing have changed completely to 5 new P's of marketing.
And they are?
And they are programmatic marketing, permission marketing, performance marketing, participative marketing, and most importantly, purpose marketing.
So this is all digital inspired?
Absolutely. Most of it is. Most of it is. But more importantly, it's consumer connect inspired.
So, Divya, what would you say were the highlights this year? We're going to jump into different media categories and we'll do digital first. But what would you say were the highlights of 2022 for you?
So we are living in a digital economy. Mohit just spoke about it. And the bit, again, he averred to it, is digital economy not for digitalization's sake, but the fact that it steps into the consumer's life and, you know, actually provides met and unmet needs. So therefore, the ease of, you know, a way of living is what digitalization has enabled. Together with tech advancements. And again, I go back to what Mohit said, it's not yet over. Every day there are tech advancements happening. We already know some on the horizon.
Yeah.
And then, very interestingly, we also live in an attention economy.
Absolutely.
And what happens? Consumers inundated with choices and information overload are pushing right back. So it makes for extremely interesting time. Consumers are living their life in media, and therefore it's well worth all of us as practitioners to heed this entire, you know, transformation that has happened from a brand-led world to a consumer-led world. What was brand-led world? It was all about consumers marching to a prescripted brand tune. It was all about changing consumer behavior.
Right.
What is a consumer-led world? It is actually listening to what the consumer needs, or perhaps has not even realized what they need, understanding them, understanding their needs and motivation, and then looking at changing brand behavior to serve that expectation.
So are you saying previously consumer is king or queen was lip service and now everyone is walking the talk?
Relative. relative. Of course, they had the wherewithal of accepting the brand narrative or not. But today, it is on another scale, on a dynamic, real-time basis.
Oh, fascinating.
And any marketeer worth their salt, marketeer and media, I look at it as us as communicators.
Absolutely.
Worth their, weight, will actually pay heed to what they're listening, and then, like I said, perhaps serve one or two things which they themselves may not have realized they need as yet.
Right. Mohit, you
I'll
cued
just
digital
add
for
one
us.
thing on,
Sure.
on what she said.
Sure.
What she spoke about listening to the consumer and consumer centric. That's essentially what participative marketing is all about. You are not doing it one way. You have to do it two ways. You have to listen to the consumer and get the product, get the services right. And I think that's a very important point that Divya said, and which fall in one of my P's that.
Absolutely. And how complex has that made your work?
I think it's how you look at it. In one way, you know who the consumer is and what the consumer wants. If you are having the right indices to understand the consumer. So if you delve into data and look at the narrative properly, it's easy. But for a classical marketing and a classical media approach, it's absolutely difficult because we were not looking at a consumer. We were looking at a narrative first and consumer later.
Right.
So,
fascinating, yeah.
So it's all about how you look at it. I personally, because I feel that today you have the data which gives you that power to connect with any consumer anytime with the right communication, and that's hugely empowering.
Mohit, let's deep dive into digital, because we heard another agency in the early, at the start of the year, a large media agency group talk about the fact that digital spend would be almost half of the total ad pie. Has this year borne that statement out?
Even today, television has the largest chunk, and as per our understanding, while there are many different reports that are there, I personally feel that it will be 2024 when digital will overtake television, but the rate at which it is growing is humongous, and you're not getting those kind of rate of changes anywhere else. Television, the reason why it is still big is because you have a much larger base in India, which is Bharat, where you still have the television there. But the other important trend is the CTV, the connected TVs. So what is happening is between the digital and the television, there is a bridge of CTVs, and that bridge is finally going to become stronger and stronger as your 5Gs get into play, as your cost of equipments go down, which are already there. But that's the way it is going to move from pure play TV to digital. So that transition is already started, and in my view, by 2024 we should have digital overtaking television in terms of media spend.
And that would include connected TV as a subset.
Include connected TV.
So I'm very, I find that we've begun this year with some of the big streaming giants globally, and even in India, it's going to roll out pretty soon. Opening up the pure subscription model, and they're having to take advertising, right? So Netflix, we know Prime is going to has started it with the sports it has on, and Hotstar, of course, always had an ad-supported service. Is that interesting? Are those numbers really very big, or is digital still about search engine optimization and the Facebooks and the Googles, and look at the spectacular revenues they've been turning in?
See, I'll just take from where Divya just mentioned about the funnel. Essentially, what has happened is we are the ones who have created it. We have made digital bottom of the funnel, which is not the truth. Digital is also supporting top of the funnel. Unfortunately, digital is being seen only as a conversion matrix, is being seen as a performance piece only. But if you look at CTV, CTV is not performance, CTV is top of the funnel. So, over a period of time, digital has been attributed to performance, and performance has been attributed to ROI.
Right.
In my view, there is a spectrum.
So you're saying brand building
can
also happen, but
digital.
is not happening on digital so far. It's not happening
because what happens is the moment you look at brand building, you don't look at digital with that perspective. You say, no, I'll do it on television. In my view, no, you can do it through television, through digital also, by using the top of the funnel opportunities. So, for digital to actually grow and overtake television, I think this top of the funnel
mindset
success
will
will be important.
Interesting. Divya, you want to come in on that?
The funnel itself is morphing shape, category after category. And the past 2 years in very many ways has accelerated this trend, right? In some categories it's almost collapsed. Why? Because content and commerce are coming together. So there are
Would you just be able to illustrate that when you say in some categories they've collapsed? What categories?
So there are very many impulse categories where does branding begin and where does commerce start, and if you have that right up front and it's all available at the click, so in that video that you are consuming, you will go and do commerce. So there is, we came out with our Dentsu came out with its 23 report just recently, and the clear call out is there is divergence and convergence happening. So content companies are harnessing commerce, commerce companies are harnessing content. And why are they doing it? To address the attention economy that I spoke about earlier.
At the top,
So that is where it is. So the funnel in itself is morphing shape.
This is getting more and more complex. I really don't know how you guys are doing what you do every day.
I'll make it very simple. And what we do, and in fact that's what we pride ourselves in at Dentsu. You keep your consumer or human right at the center always. And if I may turn your question on its head, we practitioners are guilty of digitalization X, Y, Z. We are putting it in silos. The consumer doesn't necessarily do that. They consume from one to another to another. So I may read news,
it's all
I
seamless,
may view news, I may hear news, video, audio, print. I am just consuming news brands.
You know, you use news to illustrate that point, but it makes me shift to the news genre and also television, because we saw quite a bit of controversy in the currency that's used to measure television, isn't it, last year, thanks to the news genre. Have the changes settled? How does that, let's get into television through the news genre. And of course, I'm an interested party, let's put it like that. Mohit?
I think those controversies will never end, you know, and my personal view is, in a country where there are 20 crore plus homes, right, you cannot have a representative way of evaluating, and one has to look at BARC and the data that it provides as guidance. Unfortunately, at times we get carried away and we start looking at you know, a 2.3 as 2.3 rather than a direction. And as long as that happens, there will be controversies. I have personally always emphasized the philosophy: look at that data as guidance, use your own ways of getting inputs from the client's perspective, and then build the plan. So television, on news, we build the plans without the data being there, and we were successful with it. I think that controversy will always be there, because you cannot do a justice to a country which is
and it's such a small pie with so many competitors, right, and so much at stake for them. Divya, television, news has made a lot of noise both on the industry front, and also news got a lot of audiences in, because the last couple of years has been about news consumption, because our world changed around us. So start with news as a genre, and then let's look at GEC, because that's really still the big mainstay of television, isn't it?
It is. So news as a genre, no taking away from that. Do we need the currency? Unequivocally, yes. Do we use the currency and not abuse it? Unequivocally, yes. There is that much touted thing of fluctuation versus fidelity. So when you read the data, can you really read the data and the sample it represents? If done so responsibly, we are good. Much ado, but I'm telling you, there are across all research, across all media, it's not just the domain of news channels. This exists. So that's one. Coming to your GEC thing, yes, the genre has got a drubbing in the recent times, to my mind, it is just a problem of content rather than anything else.
But Divya, you know, when it comes to content innovation, you had the KBC Game Changer. I'm talking about many years ago. You had the Khatron Ke Khiladi, and then in the soaps you had Balika Badhu. I remember when Colors launched, right? So we haven't seen a big content innovation, and it looks like to me that the streamers have sort of gotten away or run away with a lot of fiction content, and the mind space that has taken away from GEC has been to the detriment of GEC. How do you see it?
So stories and content is nobody's domain.
Sure.
So what streamers can do, so can our broadcasters.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you talk about KBC. We were the KBC agency when it launched. Now, so a concept or two that is engaging will always get eyeballs.
So what's the challenge for GECs today? Hindi GEC.
Yeah. So I'm guessing between the lines, the content production has become quite expensive. There is a delta, there is time pressure, and therefore perhaps it needs a refresh. It's got hackneyed. Now that is my reading. It just needs a refresh.
You know, Network 18, and the disclaimer is that CNBC-TV18 is part of Network 18, came out with this big commercial, a big advertisement recently, right? Saying that the news channel's reach actually gives you a GEC's reach. What do you make of that? Do you think GEC should be worried?
Not at all. Not at all. When you, again, go back to the consumer or the human at the center, when you want to consume news, you will consume news. When you want entertainment, you will consume GEC, right?
What about
sometimes
the
brands?
Will brands see news channels providing you with the kind of reach that a GEC is capable of?
Brands will follow eyeballs and attention, both. So it's not just eyeballs,
Sure.
it's also attention. So wherever there is traction, brands will follow. We do not necessarily discriminate saying, oh, this is news and this is GEC.
Okay. Okay, let's shift to sports.
I just want to add
Sure.
one thing
Yeah.
to what she's saying is, you know, in my view, why are we not getting big things on GEC? Because you have a panchayat happening, because you have a Mirzapur happening.
On streaming.
On streaming. And somehow...
They've raised the bar where content is concerned. And they've taken audiences'
They have
tastes
taken
up.
the audiences. I'll tell you about myself. I never ever consumed OTT till COVID happened. You know, I did not even know the names of the OTTs beyond the obvious 2-3 ones. But now I've become an avid OTT consumer. And I'm not watching television. So this might be a very small sample. But I'm telling you, what is exactly happening is there is a level of content. That content and that level of content is here. What we are providing
on
GECs is not
matching up.
And
there is some, they have to do a quick catch up.
Exactly.
Mohit, Divya, just hold on for a bit. We've got to pause for a commercial break. When we are back, though, we're going to find out how the global macroeconomic scenario and environment will impact the media agency business. So stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Media Dialogues, and I'm in conversation with Divya Karani of Dentsu and Mohit Joshi of Havas. Mohit, let's shift to sports now, because that's really the other big thing. We've got the FIFA World Cup coming up. That's the big last event this year, right? And our calendar will close with that. But I'm more interested, of course, in the IPL rights that went for what, some 50,000 crore rupees. If I have to be very specific, 48,000 something crore rupees. And split now between two broadcasters. Right. Is it going to be difficult going forward? Because we're also talking about an era now that we seem to be entering where startup funding will become much more rational, or startup advertising will become more rationalized. Let me rephrase that. And you are seeing a slower economy. Will this be difficult to recoup, even if it's over 5 years?
Over 5 years, I don't think it will be. But next year, I think it will be difficult.
Okay.
Because the headwinds of the global recession are already there, right? We are talking to our clients and they're not sure of the kind of spends they would be having next year. IPL will happen in April, by which time the Indian companies will start their first quarter.
Yeah.
They would want to close the last quarter with a good bottom line.
Yeah.
So I am slightly worried about next year, given the kind of commitments that they have already put in. Would we have a good, I would say, brand adoption in the IPL? But I have always been proved wrong. Because there was a time when I was saying nobody will take IPL, and suddenly
I've never seen someone happier to be proved wrong. Huh?
crypto came in, and crypto said we'll take the IPL this time.
Yeah.
And there was crypto, and IPL was a success. I was proved wrong. Maybe next year, by the time IPL comes, there would be certain categories that would suddenly get into the act and help. But yes, for a conventional client, there's already a lot of questioning that's happening around IPL.
Sure.
But over the period of
5 years,
time,
you think that
they'll be able to manage.
They'll manage
Definitely.
the investment.
The other problem is also the fact that that the OTT is going to be on free.
Yeah.
So that's also going to have a lot of pressure on the television I would say viewership.
When you say free, you mean ad supported?
Ad support.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Divya, a quick word on the IPL, or you want to shift gears?
No, I think there may be an opportunity.
Okay.
So yes, content cost increasing because this is a bellwether in very many ways is worrying, and the bottom line, how it pans out over the next 5 years remains to be seen. However, there are quite a few opportunities. So if, as a marketer, if we've taken on this and you've put that punt out, we don't know where it will settle, but it gives us ample opportunity for content, commerce, gaming, and then tying it back to that attention economy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought gaming in, because that's really quite underexplored in the Indian marketing and media context, isn't it? Okay, so we are hearing bad news coming in from global tech giants, and they are already talking about the headwinds they are facing in terms of what their expectations of ad revenues are going forward. Give me a sense of, Mohit, the scenario you see globally and how that will affect India.
I think, overall, the tech environment is seeing a lot of regulatory issues.
Yeah.
Plus a lot of, people issues with layoffs happening. And I think that's something that Twitter, Facebook, and in India, you can have many examples that are there. What it is resulting in is a lot of nervousness in the industry, because, India had a very positive, I would say, perception score till about March. But after all this happening, the perception and the positivity among the consumers and among the the media environments have gone down. So it's definitely going to impact the Indian environment in a very big way, and especially because Facebook and Twitter are two of the largest that we have over here. But I would say I would want to give it some more time for this whole chaos to settle in. That's happening in both Meta and Twitter. Yeah. But their impact is definitely going to be there.
Felt in India.
What will happen is that the local players will get advantage of that. Your share chats of the world will get advantage and will be able to take a pie from the consumers.
Some of these guys. Okay. Divya, what pace do you see this industry growing at? Is there a number you can put? And in my introduction, I said 80,000, 90,000 crore rupee business. What are we looking at? Are we looking at 100,000 crore rupees next year?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, but this year, the pace at which we've grown 22 over 21, that will get tempered some, because Mohit just touched upon it. While India is good and we are used to this inflation on our back for the longest of time, so maybe we can weather it a little better. However, we are part of the global economy, so it is going to be, there are headwinds there. It's going to be tempered some. But are we going to continue to grow double digit? Unequivocally, yes.
Okay. Mohit, final question. Unequivocal double digit growth for the media industry here?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
In fact, the media industry again proved me wrong, because I always used to go and tell my clients that whenever a recession comes, media is the first that goes down and the last that comes in. But COVID changed that perception. We were back in 2020. 21. So that has shown me a huge resilience this industry has, and I'm very, very positive about it in the future.
Well, that's a wonderful positive note to end on. I'm so delighted that you came into the studio. It was a fabulous conversation. Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And thank you very much for watching. Catch another conversation on Media Dialogues next week. Thank you.